My dog doesn't warm up to anyone. I'm warning you right now. She said it with pride, almost with pity for him, arms crossed standing on the step of her side of the duplex. And while she said it, the dog, a cinnamon-colored collie mix with a white patch on her chest, trotted across the shared yard, walked right up to Ryan's boots, sniffed once, turned around twice, and lay down on top of his feet. Ryan went very still, not out of fear, out of not wanting to wake her. "I think she likes me," he said quietly. "That's not liking you." Sarah uncrossed her arms and crossed them again. "She just likes the sun on that side of the porch." "The sun's on your side." She came to mine. "The sun moves. Not that fast." Sarah opened her mouth to answer but couldn't find the words. She looked at the dog, sprawled like a warm sack of flour across the new neighbor's shoes, muzzle between her paws, ears flopped in pure contentment. "Biscuit," she called. "Come here, Biscuit." The dog opened one eye, closed it again. "Biscuit," firmer this time. A long dog sigh answered her. She didn't move an inch. "This doesn't happen," Sarah said, and she sounded genuinely offended. "This dog growls at the mailman. She barked at the guy at the corner store for 3 straight weeks. She bit my aunt's shoe, and my aunt raised her from a puppy. She doesn't warm up to anybody." "Well, she doesn't know me from anything," Ryan said. "I got here yesterday." "I know you got here yesterday. I saw the moving truck. 2 boxes and a recliner." 3 boxes. 2 boxes and a half. Are you counting my boxes? "I'm keeping track of everything that happens in this yard," Sarah said. "It's my yard." "It's our yard. That's what the lease says." "The lease doesn't know my dog." She narrowed her eyes. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing, I swear. I was just drinking my coffee." "Did you give her something? You got bacon in your pocket." Ryan patted his pants with his free hand slowly so he wouldn't move his feet. "I've got my keys and a bus pass." "If that's what your dog likes, we've both got a problem." Something escaped Sarah that wasn't quite a laugh, but wanted to be. She swallowed it fast. "Don't you dare laugh. This is betrayal." She came down off the steps, crossed the yard, and crouched next to the dog, hands open, using that sing-song voice people use with animals and babies. "Biscuit, honey, come to Mama. Let's go inside." Biscuit lifted her head, looked at Sarah, looked at Ryan, settled her muzzle back onto the man's left boot this time, letting out a little grumble of comfort, like someone who just found the good pillow. Sarah stayed crouched there, defeated eye level with a man she didn't know. "I can't believe this," she said. "Neither can I, honestly." Ryan looked down. "I'm a little afraid of dogs. Not a lot, just the normal amount." "You're afraid of dogs and you're sitting there letting one fall asleep on you? What was I supposed to do? Shoo her off. Look at her. She's tired." "She's not tired. It's 10 in the morning. She slept all night." "Then she looks content, and it feels wrong to take the contentment away from something that looks that content." "It's a dog, Ryan. It's not that philosophical." "Everything's philosophical if you look at it long enough." Ryan took a sip of his coffee. "Happens to me with people, too. That's why I only own 1 recliner." "You've got 1 recliner?" "1 seat comfortable. The other seat's just for show." Sarah looked at him a second too long. She stood, brushed off her knees. "What's your name?" "Ryan. Ryan Cole." "Sarah." She didn't give her last name. "And that traitor over there is named Biscuit. And until today, I thought she was the only creature on this planet with good judgment." "Maybe she still has it." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." Ryan took another sip. "Maybe she's got good judgment, and that's exactly why she's where she is right now." "I don't know. I barely know her." That was the worst thing he could have said, and he didn't realize it until later, because Sarah Bennett had spent 2 years telling anyone who'd listen that her dog trusted no one, and that the distrust was a badge of honor, proof that she owned a serious animal, an animal you couldn't win over with a dog biscuit. "Look," Sarah said, switching tactics, "I need my dog back. I work at 1 o'clock, I do custom cakes, and I've got 3 orders today." I'm not stealing her. She's right here. Come get her. You saw she won't come. That's a you and her problem. I'm just lending out my feet. Lending out your feet, Sarah repeated. You know how ridiculous that sounds. Sounds ridiculous because it is ridiculous. You on one side of the yard, me on the other, and in the middle, a dog making decisions for both of us. Ryan shrugged carefully not to move his feet. Welcome to my first day in the neighborhood. Thought it'd be quieter than this. Nothing's quiet with this dog running loose. Starting to notice that, Sarah sat down on her own step across the yard, waiting for her dog to remember whose she was. And that's how, without either of them planning it, they spent the first half hour of their life together 6 feet of shared yard apart, joined by one stubborn animal who had decided without consulting anybody exactly where she wanted to be. So where are you from? She asked, just to fill the silence. Other side of town. Nothing exciting. No family close by. No girlfriend. Nobody to complain about the noise. Came here alone. That was the plan. What plan? The plan to be at peace. Ryan looked down at the dog asleep on his feet. Was going great, right up until half an hour ago. And what wrecked your peace? A 28-pound dog? A 28-pound dog that snores. Always snores like that, always, and sheds everywhere, and barks at pigeons, and thinks she's a tiger. Sarah tilted her head. You still want her on your feet? I don't want her there, she's there, different thing. There's that distinction again. It's just that the things that are there are easier than the things you want. You get used to what's there. What you want scares you. You've known me 5 minutes and you're already philosophizing at me. You asked. I answer long. It's a flaw. It's a weird flaw. Sarah narrowed her eyes. Most guys answer short and think even less. Maybe that's why your dog growls at them. And why doesn't she growl at you? Already told you, no idea. Ask her. I ask, she doesn't answer. She's a little busy snoring on your feet. Well, there's your answer. Sarah laughed for real that time, short but full. Well, I'm sorry to inform you that the peace on Maple Street is run entirely by her. She tipped her chin toward Biscuit. And she doesn't take bribes. When the dog finally got up, stretched, and trotted back into Sarah's arms, Ryan felt his feet go cold where the warm weight of the animal had been, and thought, without giving it much weight, that it had been a long time since anything had settled against him with that much trust. He had no idea the dog had already decided, and that starting that Saturday, the one who was going to run everything on that block was going to be her. Ryan Cole had moved to the Maple Street duplex looking above all for quiet. Not a sad quiet, an ordered one. After years of splitting apartments with people who came and went, he wanted a place where nobody expected anything from him. He got up at 6, ran for half an hour, fixed computers from his living room, ate pretty much the same thing every day, and at 7 in the evening sat on his step to watch the block wind down. He was 33, with the habits of a man who no longer expects visitors, one plate in the drying rack, the second seat of the recliner empty out of habit. What he hadn't planned for was Biscuit, because after that first Saturday, the dog made a habit of showing up. Ryan would open his door in the morning, and there she'd be, sitting on the mat looking at him, with a face that said, "What took you so long?" "You again," he'd tell her. Biscuit thumped her tail on the floor. "Your owner's going to come looking for you." The dog tilted her head like owner was a funny word. Things got serious the following Thursday. Ryan heard the insistent scratch of a claw at his door. He opened it. Biscuit had the leash in her mouth, dragging the handle across the floor, offering it to him with all the dignity in the world. "No," Ryan said. "That's not my job." Biscuit dropped the leash on the mat and sat down on his foot. "You've got an owner with a house on the other side of that wall." The dog didn't move. It was Sarah who came out 5 minutes later, flour on her hands and a face like she'd searched the whole house. "She's over here." She saw the scene. Oh no, she brought the leash again. Offered it to me like she was applying for a job. It's her walk time every day at this hour, and I can't today. I've got a cake half frosted, and she knows it, and that's why she came to recruit you. I'm not available. Nobody's asking you. Your dog is, leash and everything, pretty direct. She's a manipulator. Different thing. Sarah wiped the back of her wrist across her forehead, leaving a streak of flour. Look, I'm asking you as a favor. Just today, I'll make it up to you. I don't want cake. Everybody wants cake. I want you to tell me why a dog that growls at the mailman is bringing the leash to me. Sarah looked at him, looked at the dog. The dog looked back at her. No idea, she admitted, and it's driving me insane. You know how to get around the block without getting lost? I've lived here 2 weeks, I think so. There's a part to the left. She wants the park. If you try going right, she sits down on the sidewalk and there's no human power that'll move her. So even you don't run this relationship? Sarah said, crouching to clip the leash on. Nobody runs it less than I do. That first afternoon, they walked a while in silence, two uncomfortable strangers joined by a leash. So what do you do? Sarah asked, just to say something. Besides, let other people's dogs fall asleep on you. Fix computers. People ship them to me, I ship them back working. Work from home. So you don't go out. I go out when I need groceries. That's not going out. That's restocking. Sarah looked at him. Friends in the neighborhood? You. I am not your friend. I'm the owner of the dog that kidnaps you. It's the most stable relationship I've got in this neighborhood. That's so sad, Ryan Cole. It's not sad, it's efficient. And you, the cakes, pay all right, pay for the light bill. Birthdays, christenings, sweet 16s. Next week I've got a wedding. 100 servings, 3 tiers, and the brides change the flavor 3 times. Sarah blew out her breath. One of these days it's going to bankrupt me, but I'll die happy. Why cakes? Because a cake shows up at a party and everybody smiles just looking at it. I don't know anything else that does that, she shrugged. Plus, I like making things with my hands that start out as flour and end up being something people remember. We're alike that way, Ryan said. I take something broken and leave it working. You take flour and leave it being a party. We're both fixing things. You fix hardware, I fix moments, not the same. Same thing, different material. Ryan pointed at the dog. And this one you fixed her too, out of some animal shaking under a car? Sarah didn't answer right away. She watched Biscuit trot ahead, owning the sidewalk. I didn't fix that one, she said. That one fixed herself. I just didn't get out of the way. She stopped hearing herself. Hey, that line's yours. I'm borrowing it. Suits you. Ryan walked the dog that afternoon, and the next, and the one after that. Not because he had to, but because every time he opened his door, there was the leash on the mat, and he wasn't the kind of man to leave someone hanging who'd asked so clearly for something. Sarah started tagging along to supervise, she said. It's my dog. I'm not sending her off alone with a stranger. I'm not that much of a stranger anymore. I carry your leash and walk your dog. In some cultures, that's marriage. In this culture, that's neighbor abuse, and I am going to make it up to you. You've been saying that for 2 weeks. I'll follow through. I'm a woman of my word. You're a woman of flour, Ryan said, pointing at her cheek. Got some on there since this morning. Sarah wiped with the wrong hand and made it worse. Much worse. They laughed. They talked at first about nothing, the weather, the corner store raising bread prices, the guy at number 4 who blasted country music every Sunday at 7 in the morning, the dog in the middle setting the pace, stopping wherever she wanted, pulling both of them forward like she knew exactly where she was taking them. Why'd you keep her? Ryan asked one afternoon. If she's this tough. Found her in the rain. She was about 4 months old, under a car-shaking hurt paw. Took me 2 hours before she'd let me pick her up. 2 hours in the rain. She wound the leash around her hand. Everybody told me to take her to a shelter, that she was too scared that she'd grow up mean. And she did grow up mean. But she's mine. Why didn't you leave her at the shelter? Because I don't let just anybody carry me either the first time, she shrugged. We understood each other. We both know what it's like not to trust. Ryan nodded slowly. You two are alike, he said. Don't start. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying you both decide who gets in. I get it. I'm the same way. You let her fall asleep on you the first day, though. She decided. I just didn't move. Ryan stopped under a tree. There's a difference between opening a door for someone and not closing it once they're already in. I didn't open mine. She just walked in different. That's a real convenient distinction. It's the only one I've got. Let me keep it. Sarah glanced at him sideways, walking under the trees with the 7 o'clock light falling across them, and said nothing. But she filed away somewhere she didn't plan on checking any time soon, that the neighbor with the 2.5 boxes had a strange way of saying things like they didn't cost him anything when they cost him everything. They started calling it between themselves the 7 o'clock thing. Every evening at 7, Biscuit planted herself in front of Ryan's door with the leash. Never failed, not rainy days, not the Sunday. Ryan woke up with a cold and opened the door looking half dead. Not today, girl, he told, her voice raw. I'm sick. Biscuit looked at him, dropped the leash, and instead of demanding the park, walked straight into the living room uninvited. She hopped onto the one recliner, the famous one, from the move, and stayed there. That's my spot, Ryan said. The dog put her head on the armrest and gave him a look that said, not anymore. Sarah showed up half an hour later with a tea he hadn't asked for. Biscuit told me you're sick. She told you? Scratched at my door, spun in circles, then let herself into your house. I put it together. She set the mug on the table. Since when? Since this morning. It's nothing, just a cold. Men always say it's nothing, and 2 days later they're asking for soup. I don't ask for soup. I suffer in silence and endure with dignity. So heroic. Sarah sat on the arm of the recliner next to the dog. Drink your tea, hero. Didn't ask for it. I know you didn't ask. That's why I brought it. People who ask, they can wait. She pushed the mug closer. People who never ask anybody for anything, you bring them things before they even realize they need them. Ryan looked at her from his pillow, running 101 fever, and thought that line was one he'd remember for a long time. He drank the tea. Biscuit settled her head on his leg, and Sarah didn't leave all afternoon coming in and out of a house she was starting to know. And for once he let someone take care of him without a fight. She got worried about you, Sarah said after a while watching the dog. She got worried about the recliner. It's better than yours for sure. My recliner's a masterpiece, and she still turns her nose up at it. Then your recliner and I have something in common. We both rank higher with her than we deserve. Sarah laughed, full, unguarded, and the sound filled Ryan's empty living room with something the walls hadn't been introduced to yet. When Ryan got over the cold, he wanted to say thank you. He invited her to dinner, cooked it himself. You know how to cook? Sarah said from the doorway, sniffing the air. Smells good. Suspiciously good. I know how to make 3 things. This is the best of the 3, and the other 2, eggs and rice. Survived 33 years on that. 33 years of eggs and rice. Sarah sat at the table which had 2 places set, a thing she noticed and didn't comment on. Nobody ever taught you to cook for real? My mom tried. I was a bad student, preferred taking apart the blender to using it. That explains everything. She tasted it, closed her eyes for a second without meaning to. This is good. It bugs me that it's good. Why's it bug you? Because I'm the one who cooks well on this street. That's my thing, and here you come with your 3 dishes and one of them turns out fine. You're cutting into my market share. Not competing. You make celebrations, remember I make Tuesday night dinner. Different category. Tuesday night dinner, Sarah repeated, dipping bread into her plate. You know what's weird about this? I've been eating at your table for weeks, and it hadn't even registered that I've set foot inside your house. You came in the day of the flu, with the tea. That day you were half dead, doesn't count. Tonight I walked in wide awake. She looked around. The 3 boxes still half unpacked in a corner, the recliner covered in dog hair, the bare wall. Your house is real empty, Ryan. It's quiet. It's empty, a wall with nothing on it. One picture leaning on the floor that you never hung. Didn't know where to hang it. You've been here weeks. It's not that you don't know where. It's that you haven't quite convinced yourself this is really your house. The picture, the photos, the stuff you hang up when you think you're staying. And do you think you're staying? Ryan asked her from the other side of the 2-place table. Starting to think about it lately, Sarah said, dropping her gaze to her plate suddenly, very focused on the bread. Sorry, none of my business. No, Ryan said slowly, you're right. He looked at the picture on the floor. I put out the things you use and skipped the ones that say somebody lives here. The picture, the photos, what you hang up when you plan on staying. I'll help you hang it, Sarah said. I'll bring my dad's drill sometime. You have a drill? I have a drill, a ladder, and strong opinions about where everything goes. You're going to hate that I helped. Already hating it, Ryan said, and they both laughed. And Biscuit from the recliner lifted one ear and let it drop again satisfied, because in her house, which by now was 2 houses, everything was exactly in order. The walks stopped being a favor and became a habit, and in the habit other things started fitting. Morning coffee, which Ryan now made a double pot of just in case, and just in case turned out to be Sarah knocking at 8 with 2 muffins. It fit that she'd teach him the shortcuts through the neighborhood, and he'd fix the phone she'd been complaining about for a year. What did you do to it? She said when he handed it back. It's flying. Deleted about 40 apps you never used. Phones are like houses. They fill up with people who don't come around anymore. That sounded like a dig. It was a direct hit. One afternoon at the park, Biscuit bolted after a squirrel, and Ryan took off running behind her with a look of pure panic on his face that gave Sarah weeks of material. Don't run! You'll scare her! She shouted. She runs, I follow, that's the deal. When they came back, both out of breath, the dog trotting along proud with a leaf in her mouth, Sarah doubled over, laughing on the bench. You're scared of her! You're actually scared of dogs! Already told you I was. A reasonable amount of fear. You ran after a dog you're afraid of for a dog that isn't even yours. She was headed for the street. Fear takes a back seat when something matters more. Ryan sat down, catching his breath. Besides, I'm not scared of this one anymore. This one, I respect. Different thing. When that change? Didn't change, it moved. Used to be she might bite me, now it's don't let her get lost. He wiped his forehead. Same muscle, different direction. Sarah stopped laughing. She looked at him. You say the weirdest things for a guy who fixes computers. Fixing hardware, a guy thinks a lot. Nobody talks to me for hours. Ideas pile up and come out sideways like that. They don't come out sideways. They come out different. Sarah pulled Biscuit away from the leaf. In my house, nobody talked like that. Derek talked about cars, football, and what his job owed him. 3 topics. A 3-topic man. A 3-topic man who thought he was a 5-topic man, she smiled faintly. With you, I never know what we're going to end up talking about. We start with a squirrel and end with fear. I like that. It makes me nervous, but I like it. Why does it make you nervous? Because once somebody makes you think, you can't get them out of your head so easy. Sarah stood, shaking herself off. And I am very good at getting people out of my head. It's one of my best skills. You're ruining that for me. What a shame, Ryan said, without a shred of shame. Yeah, you look real sorry. They walked back with the light going, down Biscuit up ahead, stopping every so often to make sure her 2 humans were still behind her, together, matching pace. Can I tell you something? Sarah said halfway down the block. You're already warning me, that's never good. I used to hate 7 o'clock. She looked straight ahead. It was the hour Derek would get home or wouldn't, and I'd sit by the window waiting like a fool. The dog would bark, and I'd think she was happy. Now I know she was warning me. She swallowed. Now 7's my favorite hour of the day, and it's because of a walk that started because I didn't want to carry a leash. Ryan didn't say anything for half a block. Same for me, he said finally. 7 used to be the hour I'd sit alone on my step and watch the street go quiet. I liked it. Thought I liked it. He glanced at her sideways. Now I realize I was just waiting for something to cross the yard. The dog crossed. The dog crossed, Ryan agreed, and behind the dog came you yelling at her not to run off. Sarah laughed, but it shook a little. It fit, too, that one night at the park she told him about Derek without him even asking. Derek, she said, while Biscuit sniffed a tree with the seriousness of someone reading the newspaper. That was his name. Well, is his name. He's not dead, he just left. Didn't ask. I know you didn't, that's why I'm telling you. I don't tell the ones who ask. That system of yours rewarding the ones who don't ask is going to work out real well for me. Hush and listen. Sarah wound the leash around her hand. We were together 2 years. He'd stay over at my place on weekends, and he hated Biscuit. How could anybody hate Biscuit with his whole heart? Said she shed, that she smelled, that she was aggressive. And with him, yeah, she was aggressive. Growled at him every time he got close to me. Derek said she was badly trained. And what did you say? I apologized to him. For my dog. Sarah watched the animal digging happily in a patch of grass that wasn't hers. Sorry, Derek, you know how she is, like having a spine was some kind of factory defect. And what happened, one day he made me choose, half joking, half serious, the dog or him. Sarah smiled, but it had an edge to it. I told him Biscuit came first. He left that night, very dignified, told me I'd rather have an animal than a man, and that said a lot about me. It said a lot about you, all right, that you know who takes care of you. Sarah stopped on the sidewalk. You know what's strange? A lot of nights I thought maybe he was right, that maybe there was something wrong with me, that maybe I really do prefer animals because they scare me less than people. And what do you think now? That she growled at him. The whole relationship she growled. She crouched to pet Biscuit, who'd come back to her side without being called. And I kept thinking the dog was the problem. Ryan was quiet a while. They walked. The dog led them, as always, toward the usual bench toward the 7 o'clock light that already belonged to them a little. Animals don't know how to lie, he said finally. It's not that they're wise, it's that they don't know how to pretend they like somebody. If Biscuit growled at him, it's because she saw something. What thing? Don't know. Never met him. But something. Dogs read things we cover up with words. And she never once growled at you. First day she fell asleep on my feet. I know. Sarah rolled her eyes. Don't remind me. Still haven't gotten over that. Just saying maybe your dog's got a system, and the system works. Just maybe you don't like what the system decided. Because the system is me, and I've got 2.5 boxes. 3 boxes. Oh, now they're 3. Never said they were 2. You did. I said 2.5 to bug you. It worked. They sat on the bench, the dog dropped between their feet, right in the middle, head turned toward Ryan. And when the light finally faded, neither one got up right away, and the animal snored between them. Ryan felt again the warm weight of something settling trustingly onto his foot. Only this time it wasn't just the dog who'd gone still, trying not to spook the moment. Without either of them deciding it in words, the 2 houses started becoming one, with a wall down the middle. Biscuit's leash now lived on the coat rack by Ryan's door, next to his jacket. I'll leave it here so I don't have to carry it, Sarah said, since you're the one walking her anyway. Very logical. Pure practicality, purest kind. One day, a second leash showed up, the backup one, the nice one hanging next to the first. Ryan saw it and didn't say anything, but he stood there looking at it a while. 2 leashes on his coat rack, where before nothing hung but one man's jacket. Only Sarah walked in without knocking, Ryan stopped locking the door. Coffee turned into breakfast, and some days breakfast turned into dinner. And Biscuit came and went between the two houses through a door Ryan had learned to leave ajar. The night of the 100-serving wedding cake, Sarah knocked at 11 hands smeared with frosting and a face of pure disaster. I need hands. Mine are done for. The third tier keeps sliding and I want to die. I don't know anything about cakes. I don't need you to know anything. I need you to hold something. Come on. They crossed to her house, which Ryan barely knew, and which turned out to be the flip side of his full of things, photos on the wall, mismatched mugs, the clutter of somebody who actually lives. Hold this steady, no shaking, Sarah ordered, putting a tray with a cake layer between his hands. If it drops, I'm marrying the bride myself to pay for the damage. Don't shake, Ryan told himself. You're talking to the cake. It's working. Respect the method. Sarah mounted the second tier onto the first tongue between her teeth, brow furrowed in concentration. Ryan watched her work. There was something in the way she moved, sure of herself, in her element, so different from the woman who crossed her arms on the step. You're different when you work, he said. I'm sweaty and cranky. You sure out in the yard you're always on the defensive, ready to fight. In here you don't fight anything, you just do. Nobody judges me in here. The cake doesn't have opinions. Sarah smoothed the frosting with a spatula. People do. Always got something to say. Still single, are you? Why didn't you ever get married? Oh, the one with the dog. The cake just wants to taste good. Easy to get along with something that only wants that. I don't have a lot of opinions about you either. No, you ask questions. She smeared a dab of frosting on his cheek out of nowhere. Now quit looking at me like that, or the top tier is going to fall the way you're looking at me right now. Stay focused on the cake, Cole. I am extremely focused on the cake. You're looking at me. The cake is you right now. The whole cake depends on your steady hand. I'm watching the cake, Sarah laughed and nearly dropped the spatula. You're impossible. So I've been told. Hold this. I'm putting this little flower on. No, you don't touch the decoration. You're unskilled labor. I've gone half an hour without dropping your sugar skyscraper. That's a skill. They finished at 1 in the morning, both smeared in frosting to the elbows, the 3-tier cake whole and beautiful on the table. Biscuit slept underneath, keeping watch in case anything fell. Turned out nice, Ryan said. Turned out perfect, Sarah corrected. And you helped, and you don't know a thing about cakes. That makes it even stranger. That the first time in years I make a cake this size without feeling like I'm going to die alone in my kitchen. The hands holding it steady belong to the neighbor with 2.5 boxes. 3 boxes. Hush and help me clean up. You realize your dog organized our whole lives, Ryan said 2 nights later, washing 2 plates in his own kitchen. Our dog, Sarah corrected and went red to her ears. I mean, my dog, who thinks she's yours, you know. You said our. That was a slip of the tongue. Slips of the tongue tell the truth. Read it in a book. Books lie. Dogs don't. We already settled that. Sarah dried the plate with way too much focus, like it was the hardest task in the world. Can I ask you something? You're already asking. Seriously, she set the plate down. Why are you alone? A guy who fixes his neighbor's phone, who walks a dog that isn't even his, who makes a double pot of coffee just in case? Why don't you have anybody? Ryan shut off the water, dried his hands slowly with the towel. I had somebody. 4 years. Nothing bad happened. That's the strange part. No fight, no betrayal. One day we realized we'd been living like 2 very polite roommates for months. What did you do? She moved to another city for work, and we both felt relief. That's when I knew something was wrong. The relief. The relief. When somebody leaves and you breathe, that means they'd already left a long time before. He hung up the towel. I moved here so I'd never feel that relief again, coming or going. Figured better alone and at peace. What a sad plan. Wasn't sad, it was orderly. 1 plate, everything in its place, nobody to let down. Ryan looked at her. It was fine. Was, Sarah repeated very quietly. Was, Ryan said, until a cinnamon-colored collie decided my piece made a real comfortable place to nap. It was the dog, Sarah said barely above a whisper. It was the dog. I had nothing to do with it. I was just having my coffee. You were just having your coffee. He took half a step closer. The kitchen felt smaller. And if one day the dog decides something else, if one day she gets tired of you, then I do what she says. Already told you I don't argue with that dog. And if it's me who decides something, that, Ryan swallowed, that I'm not sure gives me much peace anymore. Does it scare you? Gives me the opposite of peace, which turns out isn't fear, it's something else. Been spending weeks trying to put a name to it. And you can't find one? I found one. Ryan swallowed again. Don't want to say it yet. Feels too soon. Coward. Careful coward with the vocabulary. And right at that moment, of course, Biscuit woke up, jumped off the recliner, and came trotting into the kitchen to plant herself right between the two of them, leaning her back against each of their legs, looking up at them with her tongue out, completely unaware that she'd just interrupted the first time her two humans had come within half a step of dropping the act. Ryan burst out laughing. Sarah buried her face against the sink. Your dog has terrible timing, he said. Our dog, Sarah spoke into the sink without turning around. And this time it wasn't a slip of the tongue. Ryan didn't answer. Didn't need to. He crouched down, scratched Biscuit's ears, and the dog closed her eyes in pure pleasure, with no idea she'd just broken and rebuilt the same thing in the same second. Outside, the clock hit 7:30. Nobody grabbed the leash. For once, the walk could wait. By then, they were living as something neither one dared name. Morning, Sarah said one day, walking into his kitchen with her own mug, the one with the flowers, which by now had a permanent spot in Ryan's cupboard. Morning. Coffee's ready. I know coffee's ready, that's why I'm here. You here for the coffee or for me? For the coffee. You just come with the package. Sarah poured herself a cup. Like the dog hair on the recliner. Nobody asks for it, but there it is. How romantic of you in the mornings. I'm being honest. Different thing. She sat down. You walked Biscuit. At 7, like always. We went to the park, sat at the usual bench and wouldn't budge for 20 minutes. I think she was waiting for you. She was waiting for me. Sarah blew on her coffee. That dog's got you trained and me on hold. She split the roles. I walk her out, you show up, she runs the show. She's a small, furry tyrant. He's the boss. Let's just accept it. Biscuit, hearing her name, lifted her head off the recliner, checked that both of them were there, and went back to sleep. You know what makes me laugh? Sarah said. My mom called me yesterday and asked if I had a boyfriend. What'd you tell her? Told her no. Don't make that face. I didn't make any face. I was drinking coffee. You made a whole face. Sarah set down her mug. I told her no because nobody's asked me anything, Ryan. I don't go around naming things nobody's named. Learned that the hard way. The hard way how? With Derek, I told my mom he's my boyfriend before he ever said it himself. Turned out for him, I was just the one I'm seeing. We both look like fools, my mom and me, she shrugged. Since then, I wait for the other person to say it first. It's cowardice, I know. It's not cowardice, it's that you got burned. Same thing, better word. It's not the same thing. Ryan set his mug down too. A coward never gets near the fire. You got near it, got burned, and now you're careful. That's not cowardice. That's a scar. Sarah just looked at him. See this is what you do. She moved her hand. I say something small to put myself down, and you take it and hand it back to me nicer. Where'd you learn to do that? Didn't learn it. Comes out with you. Around other people I'm quiet. Why not with me? Ryan thought about it. Biscuit snored on the recliner. Outside, an ordinary Saturday was starting to stir on Maple Street. Because with you I forget to protect myself, he said finally. And I've spent years protecting myself. Feels strange to stop. Good, but strange. Sarah opened her mouth to answer, and right then, like fate had a cruel sense of humor, a car pulled up outside with the unhurried ease of somebody who already knew the place. He came back one Saturday the way people come back who never fully left. Ryan saw it before he knew who it was. A car parking in front of the duplex with the unhurried ease of somebody who already knew the place, and a man stepping out, smoothing his hair with one hand, a freshly pressed shirt, looking at Sarah's house like he was checking on a property he thought he still owned. Biscuit, who'd been sunning herself on Ryan's step, lifted her head and growled a low engine-idle growl that started in her chest and climbed slowly. She got to her feet. The fur along her back stood up in a ridge. "Hey," Ryan said, "easy." But the dog paid him no mind. She came off the steps stiff-legged and planted herself in the middle of the yard, between the car and Sarah's door, like a border checkpoint. The man stepped out, saw the dog, and smiled with a face that wanted to be charming. "Biscuit," he said syrupy. "Hey there, girl. Remember me?" Biscuit bared her teeth. "Still just as sour, huh?" He gave a little laugh and glanced toward the door. "Sarah home?" "Who's asking?" said Ryan, who'd stood up without realizing it. "Derek." The man measured him up and down, and there was a quick calculation in his eyes, a dismissal. "And you're the neighbor." "Ah, the neighbor." Derek smiled wider. "Good, you're keeping an eye on the place. Came to see Sarah. We're long story. Can you tell her to come out?" "No need." The door opened. Sarah came out, drying her hands on a towel, and stood in the doorway with a look Ryan had never seen on her. Not fear, not happiness, just an old exhaustion waking back up. "What are you doing here?" Sarah said. "Was in the area, thought about you." "About you two." He glanced at the dog, still planted between him and Sarah. "Missed the beast here, believe it or not. People get attached, right, Biscuit?" He stretched a hand toward the dog. Biscuit snapped at the air, a dry click of teeth an inch from his fingers, and Derek yanked his hand back. "Hey, see? Still just as mean." He laughed, but it came out tense. "You should train her, Sarah. One day she's going to bite somebody, and you'll get sued." "She doesn't bite just anybody," Ryan said from his step. "Only certain people. I'd say she's got good judgment." Derek looked at him again, no smile this time. "Sorry, I mean, the dog's picky. She doesn't growl at me." "He growls at you." "Nobody asked you, neighbor." "Nobody did. Just commenting." A silence. Sarah looked between the two men and the dog in the middle, and something was settling slowly into place on her face, like a math problem finally balancing. "Sarah," Derek said, changing his tone, making it warmer, turning his back on Ryan, like the neighbor was a piece of furniture. "Can we talk? Alone? I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few months. I was wrong about the dog, about a lot of things. Came to tell you." Sarah tightened her grip on the towel. "Derek, you left because I wouldn't choose between you and my dog." "Yeah, and that was wrong of me, making you choose. I own that." He took a step toward her. "See, I'm growing. Came to fix things." The dog took a step too, walked literally between Derek and Sarah's legs, a stripe of cinnamon fur drawn in the sand, and growled again, looking up at the man without giving an inch. "Sarah, seriously control your dog." "She's under control," Sarah said slowly. "She's doing exactly what she wants to do." "And what does she want to do? Bite me?" "Warn you. Different thing." Sarah tilted her head. "She's been doing it since the day she met you." "Took me 2 years to actually hear her." Ryan didn't move from his step. Didn't need to. He was understanding, same as Sarah, that the scene in front of them wasn't an argument between two people. It was a trial, and the judge had 4 legs, a white patch on her chest, and had already handed down her verdict 2 years ago. Every time she growled at a man who claimed to love her owner, "Give me 10 minutes, Derek said. 10 minutes, and I'll go if you ask me to, but hear me out." Sarah looked at Ryan. He held her gaze a second, then dropped his eyes like he was saying, "It's your call." She crouched, called Biscuit with a click of her tongue, and for the first time all morning, the dog hesitated. She looked at Ryan, looked at Sarah standing in front of her ex, and didn't budge from the center. "She stays," Sarah said. "Talk." Derek let out an annoyed breath at the canine witness, but he talked. "I realized I screwed up, making you choose. A real man doesn't do that." He ran a hand through his hair. "These past few months I was seeing someone, and it didn't work out. You know why? Because I kept comparing her to you, to us, to what we had. We were good together for Sarah. Admit it." "Good at what, Derek?" "At everything. We fought over dumb stuff, yeah, mostly about the dog, but we had something." "We fought over the dog," Sarah repeated, "meaning mostly, meaning constantly, meaning it was the whole issue in that house." "Don't put it like that." "How should I put it? That's what you just said." Sarah crossed her arms. "Keep going." "Came to tell you I'm ready to try again. And this time, look, I'll even try to warm up to the," he glanced down at Biscuit, "to the dog. She doesn't bother me anymore, I promise." "You'll try to warm up to her, you promise." Sarah shook her head. "Derek, the dog's growling at you right now while you promise to love her because you make her nervous. If you relax, she relaxes." Sarah heard him out completely, and Ryan from his step watched something beautiful cross her face. He watched her actually weigh it, not because she wanted to go back, but because she was an honest woman and she owed 2 years of her life the courtesy of listening without shutting down. "You know what's strange, Derek?" she said finally. "A year ago, I'd have given anything to hear this. Fell asleep plenty of nights imagining this moment. You coming back. You saying you were wrong about Biscuit." Derek smiled, thinking he was winning. "See, then let me finish. In every one of those nights I imagined it, there was one thing I never imagined." Sarah didn't raise her voice. "I never imagined I'd one day watch my dog choose somebody else, clear as day, right in front of me, with nobody training her to do it." She looked at Ryan. He held her gaze. "This dog doesn't warm up to anybody," Sarah went on, and her voice went soft. "I bragged about that for 2 years, like it was impossible, like she never let herself be loved. Turns out she does let herself be loved. She's just picky. Took her 4 months to let me carry her in the rain, and a neighbor who was just drinking his coffee, she fell asleep on his feet in 5 minutes." "Sarah, it's an animal. It doesn't know anything." "She knows more than I do." Sarah took a step back toward her own door, toward the side of the yard where Ryan and Biscuit had become one thing without her even noticing. "With you 2 years, she put herself between us every time you got close. I thought it was jealousy. It wasn't jealousy, Derek. It was a warning, and I was so smart I kept scolding her for it. 'Hush, Biscuit, it's Derek. He's family.'" Derek looked at the dog. She bared her teeth at him one last time, calm, almost with pity. "So the measuring stick you use for men is your dog?" Derek said with contempt. "You're worse off than I thought." "It's the best measuring stick I've got," Sarah said. "Doesn't charge me anything, doesn't lie, and doesn't leave me because I stand up for somebody I love." "Can you say the same? You're choosing a dog over me. Again!" Derek gave an ugly laugh. "You never change, Sarah. One of these days, you'll end up alone with your animals, and you'll remember me." "Maybe," Sarah said, "but not alone, and not with you." It was Ryan who spoke then, without standing up, without raising his voice. "She already told you to leave a while back, Derek, and the dog told you 2 years ago. That's 2 strikes. Were you, I'd listen." "And what about you, the new owner of the house?" "Not new," Ryan said. "The one who stayed," he shrugged. "That's different. Nobody had to choose me over anybody. I just didn't leave when the dog showed up." He tilted his head. "You should try it sometime. Staying without demanding everybody vote for you first." Derek measured him again, calculated once more the calm neighbor, the woman who'd made up her mind, the dog who wouldn't yield, and for the first time seemed to understand he'd arrived somewhere that wasn't his anymore, where even the animal had a home and he didn't. "You're both out of your minds," he said. "The dog, too," Ryan and Sarah corrected at the same time. Derek got in his car, slammed the door, and drove off, kicking up dust, the way people leave who never learned how to walk in slow. In the yard, the three of them remained. Sarah shook a little from the adrenaline of finally having said what she'd swallowed for years. Biscuit, with the danger gone, stopped being a checkpoint and went back to being a dog. She shook out her coat, yawned, and trotted over to Ryan's step, where she lay down in the exact same spot from the first day on top of his feet. Sarah watched her, looked at Ryan, and laughed, eyes wet. "Again," she said. "Again, it's her spot. She already picked it a long time ago." Yeah. Sarah crossed the yard slowly, the 6 feet that had separated them that first Saturday, and sat down on the step on Ryan's side, with the dog between them in the exact spot where a cinnamon-colored collie had decided months ago that all three of them belonged. There was no big declaration. People think those moments come with music and grand speeches, but on Maple Street it arrived with a dog snoring between two people who, for once, weren't in a hurry to get up. "So," Sarah said, looking out at the shared yard, "the dog was right. The dog's always been right. I was just the one who didn't move. And now? Now I don't plan on moving either. You don't kick me out, I'm not going anywhere." Sarah rested her head on his shoulder carefully, like someone testing whether a place will hold her weight. It held. "Let the record show it was the dog's idea," she said. "I've got my pride." "Crystal clear. All her doing, we just followed orders." "You ever going to put a name to that thing you didn't want to name back in the kitchen that night?" "Mm-hmm." Careful, coward with a vocabulary. "I remember." Ryan took a breath. "Named it a while ago, was just waiting on the dog's verdict." He glanced down at Biscuit. "She's picky. Didn't want to get ahead of her ruling." "And she ruled, fell asleep on my feet twice the same day she ran off your ex. I'd call that a yes." "Then?" Ryan looked at her. "I love you, Sarah Bennett," he said simply, like someone finally setting down something he'd been carrying for weeks. "There it is. Took the dog a year to talk you into a 3-word sentence." "Took her less time with me," Sarah said, and her smile shook a little. "I knew when you brought soup that wasn't soup, it was tea to a sick man who never asked for it." "The ones who don't ask," he repeated. "The ones who don't ask." And he kissed her right there on the step with the dog snoring between them like a sleepy witness to a job well done. The months that followed proved the animal right. Every evening at 7, the 2 leashes on Ryan's coat rack stopped being an accident. The second house became a guest room, and later storage, and later the place where Sarah kept whatever didn't fit in the house they actually lived in, which was his, the one with the 3 boxes, the good recliner Biscuit had claimed as her throne. "The neighbors call us the couple with the dog now," Sarah mentioned one night. "They've got the order backwards. The dog's the one with the couple. We'll explain it to them, better than them figuring it out slow like we did." One night late, Sarah found Ryan staring at the coat rack. "What are you looking at?" "The leashes, remembering the day you hung the second one." Didn't say a word. "It just showed up there next to mine." "That was so I wouldn't have to carry it." "That was a coat rack slip of the tongue. Slips of the tongue tell the truth. Read it in a book." "Books lie," Sarah said, smiling, repeating the old argument like a prayer. "Dogs don't. Come here. Look." In the living room, on the one recliner that was now both of theirs, Biscuit slept, stretched out full length, taking up the whole thing with the shameless confidence of somebody who owns the house and knows it. She didn't even stir when they walked in. Just one eye to confirm her 2 humans were where they belonged, and she closed it again, satisfied. "You know what I think?" Sarah said, leaning in the doorway. "I bragged my whole life that Biscuit never warmed up to anybody, and I was so proud of it, like distrust was some kind of virtue. It is sometimes, but I was using it as a shield. If my dog doesn't trust anybody, then I don't have to trust anybody either, and that way nobody hurts me." She crossed her arms softer now. "And then along comes that traitor and falls asleep on your feet the first day and wrecks my whole theory." "Didn't wreck it, corrected it. It's not that she doesn't warm up to anybody, it's that she warms up to whoever's worth it. She's the dog who chose, and that's that. Just had to wait for somebody worthy of the choice to come along. And did he? She says so. Ryan tipped his chin at the animal. And me after all this. I don't plan on arguing with that dog ever again. Me neither. 2 grown adults run by a collie. The best decisions of my life she made them, Sarah said. I just signed off. We'll tell people she's responsible for all of it. Won't go to her head. She already sleeps on the recliner. Well, it's the only recliner. That's why it's the good one. Sarah curled up against him in the doorway. Hey, you think she knew that first day when she crossed the yard? You think she saw all this coming before we did? Ryan looked at the sleeping dog. I don't think she sees the future, he said. I think she sees people, and that's more useful. The future changes. People don't much. What a line for this hour. You ask, long I answer long, same as the first day. Same as the first day, Sarah smiled. Except now you're on my side of the yard. There's no more sides. The dog erased that one crossing at a time. One crossing at a time, she repeated softly. Good night, Ryan. Good night, Sarah. And from the recliner, without opening her eyes, Biscuit thumped her tail twice against the cushion, signing off satisfied. Outside, the clock struck 7:30 in the evening, and for once nobody grabbed the leash, because they'd already walked, already arrived, already were home, all 3 of them. The cinnamon-colored collie snored on the recliner, the 2 leashes hung side by side on the coat rack. And on Maple Street, 2 lonely people who thought they had it all figured out turned out to be this whole time just 2 halves waiting for one stubborn animal to make the introductions. So, let me ask you, on a scale from 0 to 10, how much would you trust a dog's instincts to tell you who deserves to stay in your life? Tell me in the comments about the pet that saw it before you did.